Welcome to my channel. I'm Pianist Kim. How are you doing today? I got many comments from last video saying that it was fun for you to see my environment around piano and mentioned more about your curiosity of my art around and things like that. So I will definitely create another video to share with you some of the art that I have. And let's see, I think John Corbin was talking about his eyes goes to that red nature art. And I think Todd was talking about wondering what kind of things that I keep in that wooden chest there. And so today I'm going to answer one of the questions from the previous video from Chris. So let me read that question. So Chris said, how many days in the month do you hit those repertoire that you're maintaining? I find I have to leave pieces behind for a few weeks while I try to learn new repertoire from scratch. Do you have a trick or routine for maintaining repertoire while you are learning new pieces? So I found it's actually very insightful question, and I talk about that a lot with my own students. So I thought it would be helpful for you to hear some of my answers for that. Speaking of that, I see this little thing here, you see? That is art of playing ping pong. I love playing ping pong as well. So let's go to my piano now to share with you with my own chart of piano repertoire list and answer your question. So now I'm in my piano with my repertoire list here. I want to ask a question first to you. How important to maintain that particular repertoire for you? This step is actually more critical than the routine or trick or whatever, because it is very personal. But it is very important to maintain that why. Because it is tremendous effort to maintain a repertoire without just having a clear reason why. You're gonna ended up, oh well, I want to maintain this repertoire, it sounds good. More likely it's gonna go downhill very quickly. Just because it's like a muscle or aging in general, unless you do something about it, like building a muscle, slowing down your aging, it's more, if you don't do anything at all, it's gonna go down, right? So if you just play through the repertoire in the sake of maintaining, it's always gonna go down. So in order to maintain, you actually have to put extra effort to be able to maintain, if that makes sense. To share my story, I maintain a certain repertoire right now. As a professional pianist, I would like to have a repertoire ready to go if I have a concert in a week or 2 weeks notice, right? So that is very important for me to be able to have that repertoire ready to go. Right now it is. So I have about an hour and a half repertoire to maintain in this time of period for me, right? So, and I shared the last video that I have about 25 repertoire that I'm practicing. Probably half of that is maintaining, half of that is I'm learning new. It is very true, learning a new repertoire takes up a lot of energy. So for me, it's about 70% of learning new repertoire, 25% of maintaining that repertoire, and maybe 5% of doing something else like a technical studies and whatnot. So I want to share with you this particular repertoire list here. Okay, so this is the repertoire that I want to keep up with it, right? So then this line means I didn't practice. This triangle means I did half of the repertoire. And then the other half probably makes a full repertoire. And then let's see, the check mark here, the check mark is I did a complete repertoire of an hour and a half of program. And the reason it becomes more half because I actually do some other sectional practice with it as well. Sometimes I have a triangle with a little little flowery thing. Probably that means I did more than a half. So the point is, as you see through this particular line here, the time that I didn't practice that at all is never 2 days in a row. Exception of right here, but I came back with doing full repertoire checking and practicing the next day as well. So for me, I don't skip more than 2 days in a row to practice it. So how do I practice is actually very important as well. I have to be so creative to maintain the spark with that piece. I sometimes just play out of like all the emotions and expression and as if I'm performing. Some days I do go in there like cleaning up everything, the technical parts and repetitions. Some other days I just record. Some other days I do, throughout the day I sit down and perform each section of the repertoire different times of the day. Sometimes I go from the backwards to the back of the repertoire and go, all of the practice strategies. You also have to have a strategies to maintain a repertoire. And tricky section is always tricky in some repertoire, so you have to maintain that as well. So always remember, maintenance, just maintaining a repertoire is a myth. You have to do more work to maintain it in order to maintain, you know what I mean? So this particular repertoire, Gershwin here, that's Rhapsody in Blue. I performed it a year and a half ago or something, and I may have engagement to perform this in a year. So I don't want to let go completely because I know the possibility is pretty high or not. So I play it every 10 days or so, right? But let's say if I have the concert schedule in 3 months from now, I'm going to practice it every single day, very intensively, right? It's also personal because I say personal because each pianist are so different. Some pianists can just, maintain so many hours of repertoire in their fingertips and memory all the time. I don't know how they do it. I think they practice a lot. A lot means like 6 hours or 7, and that's their main focus, which is maintaining a repertoire as a professionally. For me, I only want to keep up with one possible concert repertoire, an hour and a half, maybe one concerto ready to go if I given a 2 weeks notice. Other than that, I let go completely and welcome new repertoire to learn. So right now I'm learning a lot of new repertoire right now, so I also really understand how difficult our mental system to accept new information and while working something already So that's why this time blocking becomes very, very important. As I mentioned earlier, if you set a timer for 30 minutes, let's see, I'm here. So you see that I mentioned that earlier. So if you set a timer for 30 minutes, and that's the only time you're gonna work on maintaining that repertoire, which is doing some different kind of way practicing. If you set another timer for 30 minutes, and that time you only learning new repertoire and memorizing or things like that. So time blocking like that, it's really helpful for our mind to shift one task to the other. Another thing I want to mention is that let's say you're practicing an hour and a half, but you also have a goal of learning new repertoire and maintaining this set of the repertoire. Chances are that that time might not be enough to do everything all you want to do. Maybe that means you have to increase your practice time to 2.5 to be able to learn repertoire more quickly and to be able to maintain a repertoire. So again, that comes back to our first question: how important to maintain repertoire for you? If that is important, you may ended up sacrificing learning a repertoire a little slower pace. If that is not as important, then let it go. Be able to let it go completely is a skill as well. So own your why. If you're completely convinced that you want to maintain a certain repertoire in your life, I personally advise don't skip more than 2 days in a row. And if this repertoire maintaining becomes priority of the repertoire or practice because you have a performance coming up and whatever, then the ratio would upside down. The piece that you actually maintain become a priority you practice in order to give a concert coming up, or sharing with in public, or sharing with friends, So I hope this answered your question, and I highly recommend to create this repertoire list chart on your own. So basically, I use all the Korean and you see a little sticker. I love stickers. Anyway, so you create a date on the top, and this is repertoire, and be able to use your own system. For me, the system is check mark or triangle when it's just kind of half of the work that I wish I could do, or circle. I don't know what a circle meant actually, but I have a circle here. Or just the dash of line is that you didn't do. So visually you can see what you are doing. Even if you have like 4 or 5 pieces in your repertoire right now you're practicing, I think it's always helpful to see something visual and help you to structure your practice. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this answered your question, Chris, as well. So let me know if you have any other questions, and I will see you next video. Bye.